and salutations, my friends. My name is Samantha, and today we're going to be talking all about love triangles. My favorite trope, or one of my favorite tropes. I'm going to be giving a couple recommendations for books that have love triangles in them. I think we're gonna jump right into the recommendations. I feel like I can get really chatty in the beginning of my videos, but we're just gonna hop in to the recommendations. I haven't done a recommendation video in a really long time, it feels like, so here we go. I want to make a little note that some of these recommendations are going to be love triangles, and then some of these recommendations are going to be like polyamorous love triads, like a relationship with 3 people, you know? I was thinking of doing 2 different videos for them, but I decided to lump them all into this video. So you're gonna get a little bit of both. So the first book I want to mention is actually a series. It is the Palm South University series by Candy Steiner. I love this series. The way it was described to me is it's kind of like Gossip Girl and One Tree Hill together, wrapped up into a wonderful, amazing series. If you like shows like that are just drama and angst and follow multiple different point of views, you will love this book, or books, because it's a whole series. The entire series, I feel like, has love triangles in it, which is why I am recommending it. I think in total there's maybe like 2 or 3 love triangles. It does follow a couple different point of views, which I feel like is the most interesting part of the book and what makes the series go by so fast. I finished this entire series in a week, maybe even like a couple days. It was just so addicting and interesting because you're following all these different point of views. You're following breakups and makeups and college life. A lot of the characters are in sororities or frat houses, so it has like a very summery vibe to it as well. I don't want to say what love triangles are in here because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but let me tell you, the angst is like at 1,000, and this was one of my favorite love triangles because you got everybody's point of view. You got to see what everybody was feeling, and you root for so many of these characters, and then some characters drive you absolutely insane. This is a perfect time to read this series because there is a readathon going on in the month of July, and it's hosted by like 3 of my favorite people on BookTube. I love watching their videos. It's hosted by Jess from Peace Love Books, Melissa from She Is an Open Book, and Mina from Mina Reads. So I will link all of their channels down below so you guys can check it out, read along with them. Reading the entire series leading up to the end of July because there is a new book coming out in the series. It is an ongoing series. I even think she said there's going to be another release in 2021. So it's ongoing if you want to catch up with it. Like I said, it's a very fast-paced series. You'll finish it in like a week. Right, so the next 2 books that I'm about to recommend are probably in like my top 5 favorite books ever. I've talked about them before, but I need to mention them again because I need everybody to read these books. So the first one is Strange Grace by Tessa Gratton. I had to make sure like there was no lipstick on my teeth. We're all friends here, so if I have lipstick on my teeth, you'll tell me, right? You'll let me know? Okay, cool. This is one of my favorite books of all time. It is a little bit different from the recommendations I'm going to give in this video, just because it's not really a love triangle. It's more so a polyamorous relationship because all 3 of our main characters are interwoven together. They're all in this really beautiful, angsty, gut-wrenching relationship that I love. When I picked up this book, somebody described this book to me as being spooky and delicious, and that is exactly what this book is. Basically, we follow this town that has made a deal with a devil years and years ago. A witch and a devil made a pact in a forest. The deal was that their town was going to be protected and very prosperous, so they didn't have to deal with any death, illnesses, shortness in food. Everything was just perfect in this town. But in return, they had this thing called a slaughter moon, where every couple of years they sent in a boy to be sacrificed by the devil. And some boys made it out and some boys didn't make it out. And that was the sacrifice they made every year. Polyamorous relationship features our main characters, Merwin. I always struggle to pronounce her name. Merwin, Rin, and Arthur. I just love their dynamic together. They all have known each other since they were kids. they feel like the bargain with the devil has gone wrong, or they don't know the entire story of what the bargain even was all those years ago. So the three of them go into the forest to discover the town's secrets. I think this polyamorous relationship works so well because they are all connected. There's no jealousy. There's no characters that have more time with each other. It's just so seamless how they flow together. They're all struggling with their own identity, and together they become stronger and more confident, and it's a really beautiful relationship, and I highly recommend this book. Moving on to my next recommendation, I have Sugar Daddy by Lisa Kleypas, another one of my favorite books of all time. This is part of the Travis Brothers series. There's 4 books in the series. Lisa Kleypas is a very popular historical romance author, but this is one of her new adult contemporary romances. I would recommend reading this series in order because if you read the second and third book, it kind of spoils it. You know who ends up with who. The name is really misleading because it does not follow a sugar daddy. Our main character does not have a sugar daddy. The story follows our main character, Liberty, who is easily one of my favorite female characters of all time. I connect to her so much. I just love her personality. Really, this story just follows Liberty in her life. At a very young age, she ends up being responsible for her younger sister, and it just follows her finding herself, and it's such a beautiful story. This is a love triangle. It does have 2 love interests, so it follows her very first love, her childhood crush, older boy named Hardy, who she grew up with, and they have this immediate chemistry and just love for each other. But Hardy ends up leaving this small town to make a name for himself, and Liberty has to continue with her own life. She has a lot of questions about her past and her mother, and she ends up running into an older gentleman who is linked to her mother and her past. That guy, or that sugar daddy, ends up becoming a fatherly figure to him, and then the second love interest is that guy's son, Gage. So I'm not going to tell you who she ends up with. I'm just going to say that I love who she ends up with. It's exactly who I would have chosen. And the second book is the person that she doesn't pick. So if you don't want to be spoiled, read the series in order. Don't go on Goodreads. Synopsis explains it so much better than I do, so let me go ahead and just read that. It says, soon Liberty finds herself under the spell of a billionaire tycoon, a sugar daddy, one might say. But the relationship goes deeper than people think, and Liberty begins to discover secrets about her own family's past. 2 men, 1 woman, a choice that can make or break her, a woman you'll root for every step of the way, a love story you'll never forget. Just perfect, and absolutely you will root for Liberty every step of the way. Seeing her growth in this book is just so beautiful and well written, and Lisa Kleypas truly can do no wrong. Alright, we're going to switch it up a little bit, and this next book is another book that is more so a polyamorous relationship. All of our characters are together, and that is Learn My Lesson by Katie Robert. It is her second, maybe third book in the Wicked Villains series. This entire series takes a very dark twist on Disney stories. It takes all of our Disney villains and they end up becoming the love interest and sort of heroes in the story. I am gonna say these books are very steamy, okay? Very steamy, a little dark, a little taboo. Check any trigger warnings. But I love this series so much. It's so addicting, and it kind of like ruins your childhood a little bit because you're reading about Disney villains getting it on, but I mean, something about my dark heart just loves it, you know? Anyways, this story follows Meg, Hades, and Hercules, and it follows just all of them being in this really intense triad polyamorous relationship. I'm telling you guys, this book is so addicting. I read it in one sitting. I read from start to finish. I was so just enraptured by Katie Roberts' writing, and it's very intense, but I highly recommend it. Most of this book really focuses on their relationship, not so much the plot. There is an overarching plot in the book, but it really is just their time spent together and all the steamy moments. It has a little bit of a BDSM situation, so again, check the trigger warnings if that's not your vibe. Moving on to my next recommendation. If you really like love triangles, I would recommend 3 Blind Dates by Megan Quinn. I listened to this in an audiobook, and I loved the audiobook the narrator was great, so I would highly recommend. This is the first book in the Dating by Numbers series, and again, I would recommend reading this series in order because the second and third book are about the guys that she doesn't choose. The story follows our main character, Noelle Clark, who is someone who has really focused on her career and hasn't really had the best luck in dating. She is a TV host and decides to join a dating app and make it a part of like her TV talk show host. It's like a whole series of her being on this dating app and finding the one. So it's a really funny comedic book. I felt like the entire time I was laughing and smiling. So she joins this dating app and she ends up getting matched with 3 guys, and they're all sort of titled by their dating app username. So we have the Suit, the Rebel, and the Jock, and she goes on dates with all 3 of them. I'm not going to tell you who she ends up with, but again, I love who she ends up with. It's exactly who I wanted her to be with. They fit well so perfectly. All of the dates were super sweet, and I feel like it was a very evenly balanced love triangle. The main complaint I have with love triangles is when it's not evenly balanced. So you know who they're going to end up with. One character is always left out. For example, I'm not trashing this book because I actually really did like Twilight, but for example, in Twilight with Bella, Edward, and Jacob, I don't think that was a well-balanced love triangle. We all know that Bella was going to end up with Edward. We all know that. Jacob didn't get any of those, he didn't get his time to shine. So I don't like it when a love triangle is not evenly balanced and everyone's not getting a shot. I feel like this book did a really good job in having you feel like she could end up with any of these guys, and that's kind of how all the books are. All the books that I'm recommending, they're very evenly balanced, well-written love triangles for sure. I just realized I don't have a historical romance recommendation. I'm very off-brand right now. I just sat down and I didn't even think I don't have a historical romance recommendation. Oh my god, let me think. Okay, so this isn't a love triangle. This is another polyamorous relationship. I guess I really should have split these videos up. Anyways, we're rocking and rolling right now. I just finished Heart in Hand by Rebel Carter, and this is another triad. This is a historical romance set in America, and our main character is a mail order bride for not 1, but 2 guys. The 2 guys have more of a friendship, and she really is like the center of their relationship, but I really enjoyed the book either way. It's a very short, quick read, so if you guys are looking for a historical romance that has that kind of love triangle element to it, I would really recommend this one. Please leave any recommendations for historical romances that have love triangles, because now I need to read all of them because I haven't read any other than that one. So yeah, I need some recommendations. Please leave them down below. Those were all of my recommendations. I did post on Instagram that I was doing this video and asked you guys for some of your favorite love triangles, and I'm gonna mention a few. I haven't read these books yet. They're definitely on like the tip top of my list. So when I mentioned love triangles, a lot of you guys recommended Ella Fields. Apparently she has 2 books that have love triangles. The first book is A King So Cold, which is a fantasy romance love triangle situation. It follows a princess who is betrothed to a prince. They have a arranged marriage situation, but there's a lot of heartbreak and betrayal that ends up separating them. The princess's dad dies and she ends up, taking the throne and becoming queen, and she finds out that her supposed to be husband is due to marry someone else in another kingdom. So she travels to that other kingdom to go get her man, and that's the love triangle. It honestly sounds so amazing. I haven't read fantasy in so long, so I definitely want to pick this one up. The next one is Serenading Heartbreak, which I started. It's on Kindle Unlimited, and I started the first chapter of this book today, and I really like it. I don't want to say anything too early because it's only in the first chapter, but you guys know when you pick up a book and you read that first chapter and you're like, oh, I'm gonna like this book. That's how I feel with this. I just have feeling in my bones that I'm gonna like this book. So this story follows our main character, and the love interests are her brother's best friend that she grew up with, so kind of like a childhood sweetheart situation, but again, there was betrayal and heartbreak that sort of tore them apart. And then she has her second love, who is this arrogant baseball player, hotshot guy, and it follows their story. And I heard this is like super angsty, and I'm all for it. So those are all the books that I've read or want to read that feature love triangles. Like I said, if you have any recommendations, please leave them down below. And let me know also what video you would like me to do next for my recommendations video. I've already done friends with lovers. What? No. I've already done friends to lovers, so I will link that video down below if you're interested. But thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I'll see you next time. Bye!